let's see. In the third quarter, revenue from the Kering eyewear and corporate segment amounted to 440 million euros, up 32% as reported, which is insane. Up 32% is wild. Kering's eyewear revenues rose by 4% on a comparable basis during the quarter. The segment also encompasses the activities of Kering Beauty, boosted by the significant contribution of Creed. So even in corporate, they're talking about the beauty stuff too. Okay, that's interesting. Now that is very shocking because Creed, that's so interesting. Creed, for people that don't know, let me put it on the screen actually, is a very famous fragrance line. Their most, famous fragrance is Creed Aventus. Creed Aventus is a fragrance that has influenced modern fragrances. I feel like this whole idea of having a fragrance that is kind of pineapple smoky. It's like so many fragrance lines since then have tried to copy the success of Creed Aventus and try to, take that market share away from Creed. Now, why I find that so interesting that they're saying Creed has really good financial performance and the distribution is going up is ever since Creed was acquired, at least for me, and I've had Creed Aventus in the past, I've had Silver Mountain Water, which is another fragrance that's quite popular that I really like of theirs. The quality is horrible. The quality is atrocious. Like, Creed Aventus doesn't last that long anymore. Like, it's terrible. It's like, it's so bad. It's so bad. So I'm surprised that now that the quality of the fragrances are significantly worse, they're selling more. That a lot has to be said about the consumers that are buying this stuff, because the quality of Creed stuff, like modern Creed fragrances, are horrible. They are horrible. It's literally like spraying expensive water on your body or on your clothing if that's how you apply fragrances. It's insane. Now, this is Silver Mountain Water, which, to be honest, by the smell is one of my favorite fragrances of all time, but I don't buy it anymore because the last time I bought it, once again, the quality just wasn't there compared to past versions. So I find that really interesting that they reformulated the death out of these fragrances and it actually makes more money. And so that's why I have my own opinion on brands cutting corners and taking the easy route and cheapening everything. However, it works. So clearly I'm the one in the wrong. And that's why they have these massive business execs. And that's why I'm in my room talking about financial reports, because they can literally reduce the quality of fragrances and make more money and improve their profit margins both ways, because they're selling more bottles. At the same time, it's costing them less to make each because they reformulated it. So it costs even less to make in the first place. So they're making more money on both ends. That is so insane to me. That is so insane. That is so insane. So shout out to Kering for being able to do that and being able to finesse the people, finesse the consumers that are buying Creed. Fair enough. Fair enough to the execs. They clearly know what they are doing. Rachel says, the original Creed formulations definitely deserve the praise, but the new formulations are so cheapened that they are a ripoff, in my humble opinion. Yeah, I totally agree. Isn't that the same as luxury brands being bought up by investment groups and making their clothes cheaper, diluting the brand? Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's 100% like no difference. No difference at all. But it's just so fascinating because maybe because I think of things a certain way, I consider myself a really discerning consumer. So I always assume that most consumers are really discerning. So because I've noticed that Creed fragrances are literally down the drain quality wise, I would just assume that most consumers know that Creed perfumes are down quality wise. So they just wouldn't accept it and they'll buy something else until Creed, like you have to force Creed into reformulating it back to the good stuff. But yeah, that's the fashion market we're in. This is why clothing quality is the lowest it's ever been all time in history, because consumers are really not discerning these days. And it's really, really unfortunate. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. 100% no perfume quality ever goes up after being acquired by Kering or any other conglomerate. Yeah, most conglomerates, even brands like Guerlain, when Guerlain was acquired, I was like, yep, there goes that one. Perfume is cheap as fuck to make anyway. Why do you need to water it down? I know, but companies, and I guess this is an issue with just the system of the fashion industry in general, that you just have to grow and it never ends. And when your business model revolves around having to grow because you have to keep shareholders happy every quarter to infinity and beyond, you have to cut corners. Like I understand why they do it, because there's literally no other way at a certain point to grow more. You have to squeeze every ounce of profit you can. So if you can make the perfumes for cheaper in any way, you'll do it. If the bottles can be cheaper, you'll do it. If you can increase the prices, you'll do it. It's just their business model. It's just corporate greed. If I owned a company like Creed, first of all, I wouldn't sell it, and I'll just be content with the tens or hundreds of millions I'm making and not want to make anything more, because that's already so much damn money. I wouldn't be thinking about, let's just keep growing and growing and growing. I'd more think about keeping, the fragrance line true to the heritage of the brand and making sure that the quality is good and it has a certain level of quality that we can rely on years over years. Because I genuinely think, and this is my closing statement on this whole Kering situation, I genuinely think that long term, the only brands that will survive, I'm talking 20 to 25 years, are the brands that actually care about quality and the brands that just are about slow growth, not this rapid growth that the conglomerates are chasing. And the reason is, like I've said, we've seen quality of everything reach all-time lows. And the quality is genuinely going to get so bad that even the customers that I'm saying aren't discerning will become discerning because it will be that bad. And then the only option will be the brands that have high quality. But by then, it will be too late for the conglomerates, because the conglomerates are so deep in this having to grow every quarter that there'll be no way out of it. They wouldn't be able to then pare things back and lose millions in the process and lose billions to pare things back to where the customer base is. So I genuinely think if a lot of these brands aren't careful, in the long term, a lot of them won't even exist, because they just won't be able to compete in a market where such bad quality that no consumer will be willing to buy stuff for that price anymore. So it'll be interesting to see how these things go on. Many times bigger is not better. Don't understand this need to go corporate and sell out. Yeah, I don't understand it either. But once again, it's corporate greed. I think it's down to what your goals are. If I had a brand that made 10 million a year, I would just leave it at that. Have a small team and, just keep going and try to keep things true to the essence of the brand. I wouldn't be thinking about, let me be a billionaire. It's too much corporate greed in this industry is destroying the whole industry inside out, is my personal opinion. The quality is so shit, so people are buying vintage and are willing to pay more for quality vintage than brand new. This is true. This is actually happening already, and I think this will be more widespread the more consumers become discerning, which I think is happening slowly. It's coming, but it's just a slow grind. Let's see. It's not always greed. Sometimes the only way a business can become profitable is with scale. So this is true, but not in the case of Kering and LVMH and massive conglomerates. And Creed was a huge brand before it got acquired, by the way. It was massive, like huge. This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind-the-scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club, where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.